Hello, Squirrel Tribe. So we are one day closer to the election, one day closer to November 5th. Today is August the 7th. Slowly ticking off the days till we either continue on with the same path we've been on for the last 4 years, or we make a quick little U-turn and try to get this place back in the direction it should be going. Now, the first thing I want to start with today is the fact that we have currently two main people running for president. There is a third, obviously, but the main two that are running are the two that have the best chance of winning. And that would be Donald Trump for the Republicans and Kamala Harris for the Democrats, with J.D. Vance as Donald Trump's VP pick. And now we have Tim Walz as the VP pick for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. We also have RFK Jr. for the Independents, who's trying to be allowed on ballots. He's trying to get on the ballot in New York. There's two other states where he's definitely not on the ballot, and I can't remember what states they are. If you guys remember, put it in the comments, because my brain is not braining immediately on it. But a lot of people have asked me, why don't we ever talk about RFK Jr.? Why are you only talking about Trump and Harris? And it's because it's only going to come down to Trump and Harris, unfortunately. It's not like there's going to be enough people that go, well, they both suck, let me just vote for the middleman and vote for RFK Jr. What's going to happen is people may say they both suck, I'm not voting for anybody. Or people say, I'm only going to vote for Trump because I don't like Harris, or I'm only going to vote for Harris because I don't like Trump. They're not going to vote for RFK Jr., which is unfortunate for people who like him and want to cast their ballots for him and have their voice heard. It'll be heard. It's just not going to be heard in a way that's going to win. And I know a lot of people are upset about that, but unfortunately, it is the way it is. And we know why it's that way, because it will always come down to Democrat or Republican. It's never going to come down to an independent, unfortunately, because everything runs on Democrats and Republicans. The money will always be funneled to one of those two sides at the end of the day. We know it's true, whether we like it or not, right? Now, I came across this on X today from Insurrection Barbie. If you guys have never gone to that channel on X or page or whatever, check it out. There's a lot of really good stuff over there. And I want to thank them for this one here thank her for this one here, because this one, Kamala Harris, to me, we've talked about, she's a word salad person like nobody's business. Like, she doesn't ever say anything worth anything. She has there's an airplane going over me right this second. If it's loud, I apologize. She has no knowledge of how to run a country. She has no knowledge of what's going on in the country, what's gone wrong with it, how to fix it, anything. You ask her about the economy, and every single time she deflects the question, and she never gives you an answer. I've shown you guys a previous one where they asked her about the economy, and she talked about how the price of everything is high, and then that was it. Just kind of sort of trailed off. Well, this one here is even worse in my opinion. And this is on The View. And I personally am not a fan of The View. The women, they cackle too much, which is probably why they had Kamala on there, and she probably likes them. But I'm not a fan of any of them. Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, whatever the other ones are, the Alyssa chick, and who's the Sunny Hostin or whatever. Definitely don't like her. But this is important to me because we know that for some reason, not all Democrats are awful. Please understand that, just like not all Republicans are amazing. We have to remember that, right? But it's bad when a woman on The View listens to something Kamala Harris says and looks out at the audience like, what what is she saying? Like, I am so confused. That says a lot to me. There are people out there who realize that this woman is not cognitively there, just like Biden wasn't, but in a completely different way. Biden's not cognitively there because he's having a decline, right? He's getting older. It seems very obvious that dementia or something is setting in, and that's his problem, his issue, right? With Kamala, though, I feel like it's because she has never had the brain cells to rub together to be able to claim to be smart or have any sort of common sense or knowledge on how to fix the country that her and Biden have slowly tried to deteriorate and kill and break, right? But this is crazy to me because, again, the look on Joy Behar's face when Kamala is talking says to me that even though some Democrats realize that this woman is a complete moron, for some reason, they are still going to vote for her because they feel some sort of either supreme dislike or hate to Trump, or some weird, not connection, but forced loyalty to the Democrat Party. So I want you guys to listen to this and watch Joy Behar's face when this happens, okay?
Voters want to hear about issues affecting their lives, like the economy and the border. Should the campaign be pivoting on its messaging?
So there's no doubt that
one of the first issues that anyone will think of is the issue they think of when they're at their kitchen table trying to pay their bills, which is, how is the economy treating them? So there's no question whatsoever that that is an important issue, which we have been in the process of addressing. We still need to do more. I would not separate that from the issue of what is at stake in terms of our democracy. And frankly, I think most people don't think of it in the context of democracy as much as freedom. The freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. The freedom to be able to be free from gun violence. These are fundamental freedoms that are at stake right now. The freedom to have access to the ballot.
So the question is, did she not hear the question? Did she not have a single thought on the economy itself? Because then she went into what her talking points are, which is nothing that really truly affects the majority of people in the United States of America. The majority of people in the United States of America are not worried about gay rights. Yes, there are gay people in the United States who are worried about them, but it's not the majority. Same thing, abortion rights is not going to affect the majority of the people in the United States of America. What does affect literally 99% of the people in the United States of America would be our economy and the grocery prices, your mortgage prices, your gas prices, literally everything. There's that 1% who, even they, whether they're wiping their butts with $100 bills or not, are still going, you know, I probably have a little bit more money right now if the last 4 years hadn't been such a shit show. The economy is the most important, not if you can fly a rainbow flag in your HOA or if you can have a one-night stand, get knocked up, and then get an abortion because you didn't take Plan B or wear a condom or whatever else. And trust me, I know that is not always the case, but that is something that does happen and needs to be looked at from every single aspect, obviously. But Kamala Harris has never been able to answer a direct question about the economy, not one single time. And that to me says a lot. And that scares me in the sense of, if she's the one who's going to take over, imagine what's going to happen to the economy for the next 4 years. We already see what's happening in the markets around the world, Japan, here in the US, other countries, with the Dow dropping over 1,000 points in a day, which is unheard of. Japan, just everything over there plummeting. It is a big deal. The problem here is that people aren't talking about that in the mainstream media. They're talking about what rally Kamala's going to have and what celebrities are going to show up to the DNC, the ones that she paid for, obviously. And they're talking about Trump, and they're talking about, you know, if his feelings are hurt because Kamala's claiming to be black now. Like, those are the headlines that I'm finding right now. That Trump is pitching a fit because the people at the, what is it, NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists, I think that's what it was, that they weren't nice to him. These are the things that are being put out right now, not what the economy is actually doing, nothing about absolute importance, but just kind of left-leaning pieces towards Trump negatively or left-leaning pieces towards Kamala in a very positive direction. I'm not seeing very many pieces out there from right-leaning or even independent journalists talking about the difference between Kamala and Trump. Now, I could be considered the same thing because I'm not sitting over here saying anything good about Kamala, but that's because there's nothing good to say. That's the problem. But I will tell you bad things about Trump. If there's something I don't agree with, I will bring that to your attention and be like, hey, I don't like this. I think this is not great, blah, blah, blah. But nobody, for some reason, is talking negatively about Kamala in the press, but they're all talking negatively about Trump. And that to me shows you that there is no freedom of press. They're all bought, and they're all being told to push this one agenda that Kamala is going to be the first black female president, and it's going to be amazing. That's what's being pushed right now. Speaking of Biden and Democrats and whatnots, we've talked over here numerous times about how our taxpayer dollars have been shipped over to the Ukraine for no apparent reason, right, to help Zelensky and everything out, and how we've been told that Russia's bad, horrible, Putin's trash, everything else. The money that has gone to the Ukraine, I did a deep dive a while ago, and I remember pointing out to you guys, and hopefully some of you have been here. If not, I'll try to find the video and link it at the end, but I have no idea which one it is. I'm not even sure. I have so many videos up, but one of the videos talking about the money that has gone to the Ukraine talked about how a lot of the contracts that were signed by our government to make the weapons that were being sent to Ukraine were government-backed companies. That is money laundering. They were paying themselves to make weapons to send to Ukraine. So not only were they able to give them whatever it was it needed, money and weapons and tanks and planes and everything else. The government was siphoning or cycling that money back through themselves and back into their own pockets. And here's the thing. You guys, you see this? That's Zelensky right in the middle of, you got Mitch McConnell hitting Chuck Schumer. Ukrainian whistleblower is claiming that McConnell and Schumer both got massive kickbacks from Zelensky. I have another link to this here, and I think this is the one. It says, breaking the $155 million photo. Mitch McConnell got $89 million in kickbacks, while Chuck Schumer had $66 million of our tax dollars to Ukraine laundered into his pocketbook, says a top Ukrainian official. This is according to a top Ukrainian official. I currently do not have any proof that this is 100% factual, but I will tell you, and I'm sure a lot of you agree, it would not surprise me if this is actually the case. I'm pretty sure that anybody like this, you're able to see their tax records. I know there's somebody here on X who has Kamala Harris's tax records posted up for like the last decade. I am very curious to see what the tax records look like for Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer next year. Because I don't know how you could possibly hide $89 million from McConnell and $66 million for Schumer, unless, of course, they're just taking it and buying up a bunch of land or real estate or something like that to offset it, to kind of hide it, if you will, instead of putting it into an offshore account or something like that. So that is definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on, because if that is true, if that is the case, you know that Kamala had some sort of knowledge on it. Who's to say she didn't have some of it in her pockets as well? And what happens if she is again elected, if she is elected November 5th, and they continue trying to fund this fight between the Ukraine and Russia and sending all this money to Ukraine? Who else in the cabinet or up in the Oval Office is going to have padded pockets at the end of it? The more of our money that goes out to these other countries, the less we have here at home to take care of the things that need to be taken care of. Like, oh, I don't know, our citizens, our roadways, our electric grids, our food system, literally everything. Instead, we're sending money all over the place for things that don't matter, just so they can turn around and cycle it back into their own pockets. Because guess what happens in Washington? Greed. Greed rules everything. Let me see if I can get this next thing pulled up here. So this next thing that came up, I wanted to show you guys. We talked yesterday about how Kamala Harris has picked Tim Walz as her VP running mate for the Democrat ticket, right? A lot of people are saying she didn't pick anybody. Obama picked it for her. It was ordained that that was going to be the person, just like Kamala wasn't voted in to be where she is. She fell into it because Biden had to leave, right? Or they pushed Biden out. Nobody in this country would have voted for her to begin with if she wasn't just placed on this ballot. Nobody would have voted for Tim Walz either if it wasn't, actually nobody did vote for him for this. She just picked him. But Tim Walz, there's a lot we're going to talk about with him today, but a lot of people have talked a bunch of crap about J.D. Vance, which is Trump's pick, because it used to be that J.D. Vance was not a Trump fan, and he's changed his tune, and now he's Trump's running mate for the Republican presidential nomination, the ticket, right, for VP. This came out, and I think this is extremely important to remember. If I can get it to pause and play, come on, do your thing. All right, we're going to play this because this just happened a couple days ago, and it's very important, and you guys need to hear it if you have not heard this already.
What really bothers me about Tim Walz, as a Marine who served his country in uniform, when the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq to make...
It is extremely shameful to drop out the way he did to pursue a political career. He literally sent his men without him so he could pursue a political career. That's the kind of politician that most people don't like. That's the politician that's in TV shows and movies where they, out him or take him out or whatever else, because it's not a good look. You cannot call yourself a patriot at the same time that you are leaving your fellow men and women behind so that you don't have to go fight. Like, that's not very patriotic, my personal opinion. I was never enlisted in anything. I have not served our country, and I wanted to when I was younger, and I never did, and I will always feel bad that I did not enlist in some way, shape, or form to help protect this country. But is that worse than or better than somebody who did sign up, and then as soon as it came time for them to actually man up and sack up and do something, they ran scared so they could do something else that would not put them in harm's way. Anyway, I have an issue with that with Tim Walz, and I know I don't really have room to talk, seeing as how I was never in any form, any branch of service, but still, it's not something I would want from a potential possible leader of the United States. Because you have to think about this. If the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz ticket does make it in November 5th, they get the votes, which I don't even see how it's humanly possible. But the way the United States does its math, 2 + 2 now equals 5. Let's remember that. We have to remember that if they get in there, if something happens to Kamala Harris, Tim Walz is the president. Think about that. Remember that. Because Tim Walz is the same person that has been exposed, according to this here, exposed as a double agent working on behalf of the Chinese government. Flight logs show him traveling back and forth regularly between Minnesota and China. Throughout his time as governor of Minnesota, they have allegedly been funding his luxurious lifestyle, including private jet trips, while cities burn and businesses were forced to shut down. Literally, cities burned during the BLM movement, Black Lives Matter movement, when he willingly and knowingly let the looting and the rioting go on, did not call in the National Guard, did not do anything, probably didn't call him in because he's like, they're probably not going to like me very much since I kind of left him high and dry. But he willingly, knowingly allowed that to happen. And then Kamala Harris came in and kind of fixed everything for him. They've been a team before we even realized they were a team. But it says here, no way to know for sure what their long-term plan is, but we should all be very concerned now that Kamala Harris was forced to pick him as VP by her masters, which is, of course, how people are phrasing it, Obama being her master. This is the picture that they've put up with this post here on X. Again, I do not have the flight logs in front of me. This is from Matt Wallace on X, but he is not the first person to mention that there have been ties with China and Tim Walz. So, something else to keep an eye on, just FYI. Oh, side note, I don't have it here, but did anybody see the cringy, like beyond cringy phone call between Doug Emhoff and Tim Walz's wife, what's her name, Gwen something or other, where he said the thing and he called her, and it was like, it was about as cringy as watching Doug kiss Jill Biden on the lips. He's like, I'll be there for you, VP, spouse of a VP to spouse of a VP, we can like hang out and do whatever. And I'm like, bro, you already knocked up a nanny. You trying to knock up the VP's wife too? Like, what are you doing here? Keep your candle, keep your wick in your pants to keep it away from the candles and whatever. It was just very cringy, creepy to me, the phone call. Like I said, I don't have it here. This is the other thing that I came across that I was like, ew, I'm not going to play the volume on this because we don't need to listen to Kamala cackle. We've heard that enough. But these people, look at him. Look at them together. What is he flicking back? His hair? He got a ponytail? Is he sniffing her hair? Is he pulling a Joe Biden and sniffing her hair? It looks like he's using her as a shield. Is he afraid that she's about to get Donald Trumped or, that attempted assassination? It literally looks like he uses her for a shield for a second. He sniffs his hair. Or sniffs her hair or whatever. They're both just laughing like a bunch of look at that. Look at that. What are we doing? It looks like it. Anyway, it was just nothing about those two screams presidential to me. Not a single thing. Everything about that duo seems like we will now become the laughing stock of the world. I mean, we're already on the direction to be there because of Biden and Kamala together. Before that, by Obama and Biden. And this is just going to literally take any kind of clout that we have as a country and just flush it down the toilet. Any other country that has been like, hey, maybe we shouldn't mess with them because it is the United States of America, they're going to be like, hey, look what they got running that place. Everybody over there is batshit crazy that's on that left side. So let's go for it. What is it? What's stopping us? They're both going to cackle through whatever we have and it'll be fine. We'll just wage war on the United States of America. Like, there's nothing about those two that makes me feel safe as a citizen of this country. I think that's a very important thing to take into consideration for everybody before they vote. Do you feel safe that these two could keep your country out of World War III or IV? Do you feel safe that these two could keep you and your family in your homes and fed and in jobs, like employed? Like, are they able to keep the economy up and moving? Are they able to make the economy better? Are they able to bring jobs back to the USA? Nothing about those two shows any level of competence in any one of those things. And if you think they do, you should probably go get your head looked at. I'm just honestly, get your head looked at. But we can't forget that Tim Walz is the same guy that has tampons in elementary school boys' bathrooms. So my question is, what's next? Urinals in little girls' bathrooms? Because Tim Walz is the same one who signed in that, you know, you can have an abortion literally up until the moment the child's head pops out of your vagina. And then after that, if there's something wrong with the child, they will not provide life-saving care. They will let the child die. He has signed that into a law or a bill. Law, one of the two. He signed it, the whole group of people, whole group of women behind him clapping. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with y'all? Like, there's seriously something demented about the people that follow that man, and Kamala Harris at the same time. But he has it so that if you are a child who wants to change your gender and you're like 8 or 9 or whatever, the parents can't stop you. But we talked about this yesterday. No 8 or 9-year-old wants to change their gender. Their parents are pushing it or allowing it, or some sort of trauma has occurred, and this is a fight or flight response, right? But Tim Walz to me is the, like, literally Satan in a meat suit. I've been watching Supernatural with my kid, but literally Satan in a meat suit, Lucifer in a meat suit, because everything he is doing as a governor of Minnesota is absolute, like, evil, straight up evil. And if people don't see that, does that also make them evil? Because I do believe people that are okay with children taking puberty blockers and children having forced body mutilation, that is just the epitome of evil. So this thing came out, and which one do I want to show you? I've got like 3 different things here. No, not that one. Hold on. Work with me here. 2 seconds while I try to figure out what's what. This is totally off topic. But this was on Libs of TikTok, and it says Jeffrey Marsh is mad that Libs of TikTok and Matt Walsh expose child predators and speak out about protecting kids. Jeffrey encourages kids to cut off contact with their parents and has a Patreon where kids can sign up to talk with him privately. This is a man with makeup and a necklace and a shirt on. This is the most confusing thing a child can see. What the actual fuck are we doing that this is considered okay and normal and something that should be praised, and a parade made for it and a flag made for it, and this person having a Patreon where children can sign up and talk to him privately? Hello, predator. All day long, predator. Now, Minnesota, where Tim Walz is also the same state who his person, I don't even know what that person's called. It's a transgender. It's a guy who's dressed up as a woman, so it's a confused individual, has taken out of their, when they're talking about sexual orientation, they've taken out all of the language that would state what a pedophile is and what homosexual is and what a transgender is, so that is not something that is considered something punishable if something happens. I've got to find that and put that link in here for you guys, because I read it and I was like, how has Minnesota just not like burned to the ground? I don't understand how anybody is still in that state. Although if you look at their records for real estate, more people have been trying to leave in droves than people coming in. The people that would go into Minnesota right now are the same people that want to leave California because it's too expensive, although they love California because they love the openness and the wokeness and the whatever else. Minnesota will be the next California, which is probably Kamala's plan, you know, divide and conquer kind of thing. But this right here, the fact that this person can dress up like this and make these videos and have a Patreon where kids can talk to him privately is absolutely disgusting. There's a freedom of speech. There's all these different things that protect people, but there are certain people that do not deserve protection, and something like that does not deserve protection. Personal opinion, you do not have to agree with it. It's perfectly fine if you don't. It will not hurt my feelings if you don't agree, but it will make me look at you sideways if you think this is normal. If you think a man with eyeshadow and lipstick and necklace and this telling little kids to send him private messages on Patreon, if you think that is okay and that is normal, you're going to have a seat in hell. Please understand that. Anyways, there's one more. Please hold. And where is it? This one. So much going on. I wanted to read this to you. Donald Trump here speaking. I want to read this to you because I don't know if I can play this whole thing. I'm sure I can play this whole thing. No, I'm going to read it just in case because YouTube's already trying to take down so many of my videos for playing things. So according to Donald, It says, on day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. I will eliminate all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the entire federal government. And I will direct the DOJ to pursue civil rights claims against any school or university that engages in racism rather than making decisions based on merit. I will keep men out of women's sports, and I will ask Congress to send a bill to my desk prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. Can you imagine you have to put that down as a platform, that you are going to stop child sexual mutilation? Who would think you would even have to say a thing like that? I will fire the rogue bureaucrats who have weaponized the justice system, starting with every corrupt official who has targeted Moms for Liberty, which is who has this video posted. I'm also going to take aggressive action to reclaim our system of higher education. It's a system right now of the Marxist left, and we're not going to have it any longer. When I'm your president, these communists, fascists, and others will no longer be allowed to rule the lives of our children, no longer be allowed to take away the authority of loving parents. President Trump. And I have to say, I agree with everything there. For people who do not agree with this, there's something horribly wrong. For people who have a problem that he wants to stop child mutilation, there is a problem there for the ones who are going to be up in arms over the fact that they can't make Bobby Betty at 8 years old. Like, you have to think, those are the kind of people that belong in the insane asylums that have closed down. They belong in the straitjackets. They belong with no parental rights. Any parent that does anything like that to their child should not be allowed anywhere near their child ever again. Personal opinion, once again. But I do think it's important that it's a little odd for a party to push the idea of first woman president when they can't even define what a woman is. And that's the problem. You ask these people on the far left, what's a woman? And they can't tell you, yet they want you to say that they want to have the first woman president. They could just put another dude in a dress with his dick tucked back and call it a woman and say, that's our next president. Like, absolutely crazy to me what the two sides represent. One side that represents normalcy and common sense and decency, and one side that represents literally fiction come to life. Like, every kind of weird movie you've ever seen and things that don't make sense, nonsensical stuff, they want that as an everyday life. And that's so weird to me because it screams mental issues. When you want your life to be dressed up as a cat or a dog, you want to be in cosplay your whole life. Transgender is literally like the world's longest game of dress up. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, in the absolute least. I have on shorts and a t-shirt. Doesn't mean I think I'm a boy, right? But if a man were to put on a dress, that's still weird. But it doesn't automatically make them think they're a woman. Yet sometimes they do, and then they want to be called ma'am, and it all gets so very confusing and convoluted that it's designed to make it so people won't have the conversations. We had that video about a week ago of Sam, I think it's Sam Brinton, the guy who was part of the Biden administration, in a dress with makeup and his shaved head and a beard and some high heels, while he's got these dudes in dog masks at his feet with a leash on him. Same dude who got caught stealing women's luggage and wearing the outfits and trying to sell the outfits. He was in the White House. He was part of Biden's administration. How does that kind of thing happen? Like, why is that kind of thing okay? And here we are trying to vote that in as president and vice president and then expand it all around the country. Crazy. Absolutely freaking crazy. I heard this morning that Simone Biles won a bunch of gold medals and whatnot, and now has pledged $4 million to Kamala Harris. You got paid like 30 grand for each gold. So why would you go bankrupt trying to support a woman who wasn't black until it suited her, who can't prove there's any blackness in her, and is not... Okay, think about this. Simone Biles and other women in gymnastics had a whole entire Supreme Court hearing with, who was it, Ralph Nader, the gymnast doctor who used to molest them. You think that's a Republican thing? That's what the Democrats are all about, like not stopping things from happening inappropriately to children. And here she is trying to throw money at the Democrats to ensure that stuff like that continues on. Hello? Make it make sense. Because it doesn't. Doesn't make a lick of sense. All right, tomorrow we're going to do no politics. It's going to be very difficult. But tomorrow we're going to talk about stuff that's not politics in theory. Maybe we'll do 2 videos because politics are still extremely important and beyond interesting right now. You can't even deny the fact that everything that's going on is like watching a train wreck. Not a East Palestine train wreck, but a train wreck nonetheless. It's really hot in this car and I need to go get groceries now. So I'm going to let you guys go. I would love your thoughts and opinions on everything we talked about today. And until the next one, have a fabulous day. I love you very much. Goodbye.